welcome back, Merc Nation, to the Merc Method. I appreciate you guys coming in and listening to the podcast episode today. I'm your host, as always, Eric, and this episode is sponsored by Radiant Beauty Collective by Rach. She is promoting a special for the month of March, and that is 17% off all skincare services booked in the month of March. Also 25% off plus free upgrade when you rebook at checkout. And if you refer a friend, you receive 25% off when they book and mention your name. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Seems like savings all around. And the best thing is I keep hearing from people that have come in and rebooked and continue to rebook. I've heard this lately, that they have told Rachel that they are now going without wearing their makeup and they look amazing and they don't need it anyway. I tell Rachel that all the time, that she doesn't need to wear her makeup. I mean, she really doesn't. But that's the awesome part about getting these facials and taking care of your skin and just using that natural glow that you all have. So if you want to go over to her social media platforms, she's on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. You will find her booking information. Book yourself something today. Maybe book something for somebody else, because you guys are worth it, right? And you will feel amazing. And who doesn't want to feel amazing? Who doesn't want to get pampered and feel good and look good at the same time? You're going to radiate that with everybody else around you, and they're going to want to do the same thing. So today's episode, we are going to talk about being an extracurricular parent. That is what we had going on this weekend. As some of my listeners know, my daughter plays club volleyball. She also plays club soccer at the exact same time, so it's a very much struggle to do both. And going to each of these sporting events, whether it's volleyball or soccer or whatever you guys might be doing, maybe it's baseball, traveling baseball, there's so many things involved in trying to get everything accomplished, whether it's finding hotels if you're traveling, to bringing 8,000 pieces of snacks for the kids, or getting their uniforms prepped and ready literally right before you're supposed to be going to whatever you're going to be going to. Before I get too far into this episode, I want to just thank all the moms that get everything accomplished and ready before we go. I mean, I want to give credit where credit is due. I'm pretty sure, other than actually driving Lauren to her practice or her games, if she would probably drive herself at this point in time. But I think the only thing she might have, if I got her ready, was her water. Because that's basically my real job, is to make sure that her water bottle is full. Rachel is in a zone when she's getting her stuff accomplished, making sure that Lauren has all of her equipment, all of her uniform prepped, all that stuff. She knows what time we're playing. So yeah, my job is to get the water ready and get her there if necessary. And I do actually have a job when I get to wherever we're going, whether it's soccer or volleyball, is making sure that we have a spot that we can sit at. So I usually have to throw some stuff. And even then, most of the time, Rachel kind of takes over that too, because I might stop and talk to people because, well, that's what I do, right? That's what pays the bills. I just tend to talk to pretty much everybody and then forget the one job that I actually had when we get to the field. But in all fairness, whoever is taking care of whatever, it's still a lot, right? It kind of feels like another job, but you don't want to look at it as another job, and most of us don't. But it can feel like that, because if you're doing a tournament on a Saturday, Sunday, and you start at 8 o'clock in the morning and you could go all the way till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. I mean, those are some pretty work-like hours. And sometimes you don't even leave the facility. And that's what makes it funny about when we pack so many snacks. We have all these things. Rachel preps all this stuff. We go to the store prior to this, understand we have a list, that stuff that she likes to eat. And then we end up getting, and I'm guilty as charged, I will go to the concession, and especially for volleyball, I'm getting the same crap. I'm getting popcorn and a pretzel and some caffeine, depending on the morning. Probably get a coffee, might get a like a cherry Pepsi later on. Lauren eats all of my popcorn, like in between games, and then I have to get another one. And then, 40, $50 later, we've eaten all this stuff from the concession and there's barely anything touched from the snacks. And then I feel for the parents that have multiple kids at different locations or different sports, where you might have one where they have baseball, a tournament somewhere else, and your other child has maybe soccer or volleyball, and then you have to flip a coin on whose parent is going where, and then vice versa. And that can be hard too because you're sometimes not together, but you're doing the best you can in the situations that you can, and that's the best part about it because you're still being present for them. But it takes a toll because, everybody wants to be there all together for one sport, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But at the end of the day, all this is worth it. So we think. I know sometimes the kids can be pissed and we're like, why do we even have them in these sports? Do they even like to be in it? But they're learning. We're learning. We're learning a lot about them. They're learning a lot about us. I have so many conversations with parents about when their kids started smaller, or for instance, at Lauren's volleyball matches, you see littler girls playing the same sport, and it's just so nice to watch because you get to see them grow up with the sport too. And same thing with soccer. It was the same thing when my son was playing baseball too. But it's such a joy and a privilege to watch your kids go through these motions. But it's also so much on us. I don't think when the kids were born that I was really prepared for being an extracurricular parent. Nobody really sat me down in the hospital and, said, "Oh, by the way, in about 8 years, your trunk's going to completely smell like grass and sweat, and there's going to be glitter or forgotten cleats that smell like somebody died in there." I mean, come on, parents, you know what I'm talking about. Those shoes are horrendous. And Lauren knows this too, and I'm going to share this with everybody. She left her cleats in my car overnight that I did not know with her bag open. And I came in my car the next morning to go to work, and I thought there was a dead animal in my car. I had no idea what was happening until I figured out it was her shoes. Nobody nobody in the hospital told you that your Saturdays don't belong to you now either. I'm getting up the same time I would for work to go to these tournaments. They don't tell you you're going to become a part-time chauffeur. You're going to be the full-time hype parents, probably amateur sports therapists, the uniform manager, their, of course, emotional support system. And then you're trying to keep that all together while watching them and holding your breath and having some of the hardest anxiety you've ever had in your entire life, especially when it comes down to that one point, and you're watching it unfold in front of you. But look, we're here now, right? And if your car becomes now this mobile operations center. There's all kinds of things in cup holders. There's snacks that you had in between games that are now shoved in the car seats and the cup holders in the back that everybody forgets until it starts to smell. There's protein bar wrappers everywhere, random, open, empty water bottles, some socks that have been missing, maybe just one sock. Kind of looks like a sporting goods store threw up in your car. But again, with all of that, there's pride in everything because all that stuff, all that mess, that's evidence that your kids are trying, that they're involved, that they're growing. So let's talk a little bit about some of that anxiety on the sidelines because that's fun for me. You tell yourself sometimes you're going to be chill. Some people are outright going, I'm just going to scream the whole entire time. But that's support. But it's suddenly you care more than you've ever cared for about anything when they start playing. Every fall, every point lost, every win. And the funny part is you're not the one competing, but your heart is just as much out there with them as theirs. And being that extracurricular parent means learning how to manage your emotions while learning how to manage theirs. It means knowing when to clap, when to stay quiet, when to let the coach coach, when just the only thing you can say in the car is, I'm proud of you. Sometimes you can't even say that because you get clapped back for saying that too because they are so hard on themselves. And of course, with all of these sports, it's not cheap. Uniforms, multiple shoes, travel time, registration fees, dinners that we go out for. At some point, you look at the bank account and think, we could have bought a boat. Well, my wife would say that. I would say more of a Chevy Nova that my dad used to have, but still. But the nice thing about it is you're putting money into growth and experiences and memories that you will always have, pictures that you've taken, seeing the girls or boys together after a win, sometimes even after a loss. It just pulls on your heartstrings. We're investing in their confidence. That's how I choose to see it anyway. And if you look at it that way, that's not an expense, that's development. Being an extracurricular parent isn't about raising athletes, it's about raising human beings. Sports and cheer expose these things. How do they handle the pressure? How do they respond to criticism? Do they blame themselves? Quite often. Do they own up to the mistakes? Do they lift their teams up? That's huge. I've noticed so much of that. It's so nice to watch. You lose a point, the girls on my daughter's team are right there all the time. Like, let's just get the next one. Last time I heard somebody say, be a goldfish. Forget about that last point and move on to the next one. You learn so much about your child by watching them compete. It's amazing. Sometimes you learn stuff about yourself. You notice how competitive you are. I already knew that anyways, but sometimes it gets a little bit higher because I'm right there with them in those points. You own your expectations. You realize that sometimes the growth isn't just theirs, but it's yours. Another thing that changes when you have kids that are doing sports is your calendar. It's more like a battlefield strategy map. Practices overlapping, games across town, cheer competitions probably 2 hours away, birthday parties squeezed in there somewhere. You start becoming a master of logistics, really, right? Constantly getting snack packs all the time. What are we going to bring for snacks? And then half the time you don't even eat any of them because we get stuff from the concession stand that's $12 for a pop. So you spend $82 at the concession stand when we have stuff in bags. I'm sure you've said the phrase, we're going to leave in 10 minutes more times than you can count. And yet somehow you make it work and somehow you get out there on time. Biggest thing is when they look up at the stands, you're there. And some of the best conversations are the ride home. If you have a long conversation, if you're out of town. Sometimes when we're in town and we lose, it's not a very fun conversation or any conversation, but you learn. You learn when to pick your time. But these are real conversations happening. And like I said, sometimes it's silence, sometimes it's replaying what happened, sometimes it's tears. But those car rides, that's where connection lives. That's where they open up about their nerves. I've had great conversations with my kids after sporting events. Maybe about drama of some kind, maybe about feeling overwhelmed, maybe about feeling proud. These are so sacred moments that you're listening to that sometimes we forget that. And they wouldn't exist without having that extracurricular life. And winning is fun, right? We love to win. Let's not pretend you don't. Trophies or your medals that you get, being noticed for winning first place. It feels good. It's nice to see it. It's a nice visual, right? It shows your hard work. But losing builds something else too. It builds perspective. It builds grit. It makes you want to be that much better. It teaches them that effort matters more than the outcome sometimes. As parents, it's our responsibility to model that too. They're paying attention. If we only celebrate wins, they'll think love is just conditional. If we celebrate the effort they gave and the growth and their courage they got and how vulnerable they were, they'll carry that forever. Really, at the end of the day, being the extracurricular parent isn't about the sport at all. It's about showing up for them, just being present. It's about sitting on uncomfortable bleachers, maybe bleachers that are made for little toddlers that are now holding adults, standing in hot gyms, driving crazy long distances, clapping till your hands hurt, screaming until you go hoarse. But it's about letting them know what matters to you matters to me. And the scary thing for me, and I'm sure for some of you listening too, one day the practices will stop. Competitions will end. The car will be clean again. The trunk will be empty. And you'll definitely miss it. It was very hard for me to hang up the baseball cleats and the glove when my son decided he didn't want to play anymore. But I didn't want him to continue if he wasn't having fun. And I knew at some point it would stop. And I'm okay with it now, as much as I can be. But it's about them understanding that it's up to them if they want to play or not, and us not pushing them to do something they don't want to do, but just be present in the moment of whatever they are trying to accomplish. You'll miss the chaos. You'll miss getting all those snacks together. You'll miss that anxiety from sitting on the sidelines. Because those moments, those were seasons, and those seasons passed like anything else. We're not raising competitors. We're raising young men and women who know how to stand tall, young people who understand teamwork, humans who know what it feels like to work towards something. And if we do it right, they won't just remember the scores. They'll remember that we were there. I don't think a lot of the kids down the road from games that we previously have played remember the score. They might remember something that happened within that game, or that they lost or won, but they remember key moments. And they remember that you were there. They remember your cheering. They remember the encouraging. They remember your supporting. Even if they didn't win, especially when they didn't win. So this episode is cheers to the extracurricular parents, the sideline strategists, the glitter removers for our cheer teams, the financial sponsors, the late night pep talk givers, our early morning coffee drinkers, guilty, a steady presence in a very, very loud world. One day the bows will come out, the cleats will be retired, the schedules will slow down. But the character built from these opportunities stays. And the love shown in the stands lasts longer than any trophy ever could. Before I wrap up this episode, I want you to just picture something, okay? Picture the gym quiet. No music, no whistles, no announcer echoing through the speakers, no glitter, just empty bleachers. One day for us, that's coming. One day the early mornings will stop. The car rides will get shorter, the schedules won't be color-coded chaos anymore, and your trunk will finally be clean. But here's the thing nobody tells you when you're in the middle of it. You're really going to miss it. You'll miss the nerves before they perform. You'll miss the way they look at you in the stand searching for your face. You'll miss the did you see that moment? You'll even miss the stress. Because what feels overwhelming right now is actually sacred. Being the extracurricular parent isn't about perfect attendance at every practice. It's not about knowing every rule, but it does help. It's not about having the newest gear or the loudest cheer. It's about presence. It's about showing up when it would have been easier to stay home. It's about choosing that connection over convenience, and it's about saying without always using words, what matters to you matters to me. And your kids, they might not say it now, They may roll their eyes. They may act like they don't notice. Or as I've heard from Lauren, they might call it cringe. But they do notice. They see you in the stands. They hear you clapping and cheering, sometimes a little too much, but they feel your belief in them. And long after the trophies are boxed up and dusted and lost, long after the uniforms don't fit anymore, they won't remember every score. They'll remember that you were there. They'll remember the car ride talks. They'll remember the pep talks after a tough loss. They'll remember that when they felt pressure, they weren't alone. And that's the real win. Because we're not just raising athletes, we're raising resilient, confident, grounded human beings. We're raising children who know how to work hard, who know how to fall and get back up, who know how to smile through nerves and push through fear. And we're modeling something powerful too. We're modeling commitment. We're modeling sacrifice, and we're modeling unconditional love for them. So if you're in the thick of it right now, if your calendar is full and your wallet feels lighter and your weekends are gone, take a breath. This is a season. A beautiful, exhausting, loud, glitter-covered season. Lean into it. Cheer loudly and be present. Put the phone down sometimes and watch the performance and watch the games. Lock eyes with them when they scan the crowd, because one day the music will fade, and when it does, you won't wish you had done less. You'll wish you had soaked it in more. So here's to the extracurricular parents. You're doing more than you think, and one day when the bleachers are empty, your relationships won't be. And that, more than any medal, banner, or trophy, is the greatest victory of all. All right, as I wrap this up, I want to just say thank you for listening. Thank you for spending your time with me today, for letting this conversation be part of your drive, maybe your workout, maybe a quiet time during the day. If you're one of those parents, you're stuck in the middle of this extracurricular chaos right now, I see you. Just remember, at some point in time, this ride is going to stop, so enjoy yourselves. Okay? And of course, after every episode, as I leave you with this. Stay grounded, stay kind to yourself, and remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.